about to head on the next flight to Oklahoma. No. Like, I was like, oh, ew, that's nasty. In reality, she hates herself. Boring. Snooze fest. Next chapter. Hi YouTube. Welcome back to another one of my videos. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is me telling you guys all of the books that I read in 2024. Right now it's January 1st, 2025, which is actually insane. We're in 2025. That's crazy. But anyway, I read 29 books in the year 2024, and now I'm here to talk about every single one of them. Also, I cut my hair. Do you like it? Anyway, we're gonna start off from the first book I read to the latest book that I just read. So let's just get right into that. The first book that I read in 2024 was The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, because in the end of 2023 I was finishing the Hawthorne Legacy and I was like, okay, I need to get up on that. Out of the whole series, the first one was still my favorite. It's the 5 stars. I could tell you one thing, Jennifer Lynn Barnes does mystery well, and she also, like, I feel like her IQ is so high, like the riddles and the puzzles in here are like 1000 IQ. I gave this book a 4.5 stars, so it was really close to a 5 stars, but not quite there yet. The next book I read, which was not a physical book, I read this book on my phone, which was Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I love Ali Hazelwood. There's never an Ali Hazelwood book that I've read that has gone below 4 stars. Ali Hazelwood, like, I don't care if, like, her niche is, like, repetitive, like the stemness, like, I don't care. I will eat it up every time. I gave Love Theoretically a 4 stars. Jack, the guy in the book, he's like one of my top 3. Do I remember him? No, but I put that in my review. Like, at the moment, he was up there. I don't remember. I read this book. I finished this book January 17th. Anyway, if you, like, have read Ali Hazelwood book before, like, if you've read Love Hypothesis, most of her books have the same premise of, like, the women in STEM. And this one was really good. Like, out of all of them, I haven't got to Love on the Brain yet, but out of all of them, I feel like I would put, like, out of the 3, Love Hypothesis, Love Theoretically, and Love on the Brain. Love on the Brain is at the bottom for me, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get to Love on the Brain. The next book is The Sweetest Oblivion by Danielle Laurie. Sometimes I get the itch for a dark, raw mafia romance, and I got this itch. It was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I literally didn't leave a review. When I don't leave a review for a book, that just means that it wasn't that memorable. This one, I gave a 3. But then the next book I read, The Maddest Obsession, that book was good. She ate that one. This the next book in the series. It's like a 3-part series, I think. I didn't read the 3rd one, but The Maddest Obsession, with, like, it's like it keeps going. It's like not the same couple, but it's in the same universe with a different couple. She ate that one up. My review is literally, whoo child. You should read that if you're, like, in a dark mafia mood, because that one eats. The next book I read was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I read this book in March. I'm gonna read you my review. This book low-key did kind of get on my nerves just a little bit. The main character B, the girl, like the MFC, was annoying. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book where I would wanted the main character to just stop talking. Like, she talked so much. For my man Levi, he couldn't get a word out. Like, the miscommunication because she wouldn't close her mouth was crazy. And her assumptions in this book, like her assuming, oh, he hates me, he doesn't love me, he doesn't want to do nothing, blah, 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 blah. Girl, if you will let the man speak. The next book was From Luca with Love. This was my first ever Mariana Zapata book. I have yet to read another one. I really want to, but, like, sometimes I be thinking about her, but, like, I be wanting a quick book, and her books are like 600, 500 pages. Like, this book was long. But it was good. I gave this book 4.5 stars, but it's closer to a 5 stars. I remember how this book made me feel. Like, I think about this book, I'm like, okay, period. Like, this book was so good. It's like ice skating. Both the main characters ice skate, like, the same company. MMC is like, he's like a really good ice skater. He's like professional, and she's like not, but she was at one point, but she got like a bad injury, I think. This book was literally the slowest slowest slow burn I think I've ever read in my life. Like 70% of this book was pure friendship, barely even. Like it was just platonic, but like I didn't even care. It was so good. The freaking next book is at the bottom of the stack. Okay. The next book, which is a physical copy book, is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This book was good. I did majority listen to this book on audiobook format. I wanted to because like the audiobook was like really popular and I wanted to hear their voices. Like I was like listening but also like reading it, like what's it called, like immersive reading. The ending of this book was crazy. During the time I read this book was crazy. This is low-key one of my first romantasy books I ever read, so I was like enthralled, but I was also like, this is giving Hunger Games. This was giving Hunger Games also with a little bit of Shatter Me vibes. A lot of people say that this gives Red Queen. I haven't read Red Queen, so I really can't give my input on that, but in this first book I did love Pei and Kai. The trials in this book were like okay, but like I felt like they were a little rushed. Like, I get this isn't a movie because I'm, like, low-key comparing it to Hunger Games. Also, why were they doing trials? Usually, like, if we're comparing it to the Hunger Games, you make the weaker people, the poorer people that you don't care about do that. Like, the ordinaries against the ordinaries, or the ordinaries against the... Just doing elites against elites is just killing your own. I'm so confused. But one thing I do applaud Miss Roberts for is for giving us so much tension and romance, and them not having done a thing together. I applaud. Honestly, that's a talent, I guess. Okay, the next book, I listened to this book on audiobook on Spotify, was The 7-Year Slip. I gave this book a 4 stars. This book was so cute. He waited 7 years for this girl. Like, in this book, I didn't even tell you what the book was about. Basically, this girl's aunt has like a magical apartment, and after she dies, she gets the apartment. And the magical apartment, sometimes when you step into it, you can like, you time travel back into time 7 years in the past. That's why it's called the 7-year slip. So you slip back 7 years in the past, and you can see who lived in that apartment and basically meet them. And Clementine met Ewan in the apartment who his aunt was letting him stay there for the summertime, and she traveled back and saw him and met, and she keeps going back there, and he's been waiting for her for 7 years, but for her it wasn't that long, so she goes and finds him in the future. Low-key giving House Moving Castle. I know how to help you now. Find me in the future. I do wish we got to see them together a little bit longer after they got together. But yeah, I give the book a 4 stars, and I loved it. I love the audiobook. I love an audiobook. I feel like an audiobook stays with me a little bit longer than reading it on my phone or in a physical copybook because I'm listening to it. The next book I read was the sequel, the next book in the When in Rome series. I read Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I gave this book a 4 stars. Shocker. I'm not that hard to please. But this book was so cute. Also kind of funny. I don't read many funny books. I don't read many books that would make me chuckle out loud, but I think this one did. I think. I liked this book. I actually like this book better than When in Rome. But like, my favorite trope is fake dating, and this book has fake dating in it. Like, this book is like the main girl from When in Rome. She has a bodyguard. And the main guy from When in Rome has a sister who is like trying to figure out how to date. So basically, she wants the bodyguard to teach her how to date. But obviously, you know how that goes. If I waited until I felt confident to live my life and do things I want to do, I'd never live. Period. That came from that book. You guys should really go follow me on Goodreads, because my reviews, sometimes when the book is that good or I have a lot to say, my reviews are long, lengthy. Remember how I just said my reviews can get lengthy? The next book, one of my favorite books, honestly I need to up my rating in Goodreads for this book because I give it a 4, but it needs to be a 5, is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I think about this book every other day. Like, I think about this book. I love this book. I think about Connell and Marianne on a regular. I watched the show. I don't think I watched the last episode of the show. Irrelevant. I love the show. I love the book. But like, let me show you this. that is all a review, and I gave it a 4 star. It says 4.5, but my first sentence in this is Jesus, this book. I'm reading my review because, you know, I've never read a book like this before, and I don't know if I want to read another one like it again. I loved Connell, Marianne, and Connell's mom, Lorraine, but everyone else in this book was terrible. Like, I get right person, wrong time, but like, when will it be the right time? Like, damn! Like, when I finished this book, I was looking around for the cameras, like, is this it? Like, I know this at the end. Where the cameras at? I know I'm getting pranked now. I hated Marianne's family with a passion, bro. Like, everyone in her family saying, you think you're so special, you think you're the best, blah blah blah. In reality, she hates herself. She hates herself, and she's letting men beat her up on the regular because she thinks she deserves it. But she thinks she's the best. I'm gonna read this to you right now. Her body is just an item of property, and though it has been handed around and misused in various ways, it has somehow always belonged to him, and she feels like returning it to him now. Well, Marianne's point of view. What? Next book! The next book I read was indeed another audiobook. I listened to Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. This book, it low-key took me a little longer to finish at some points, and like the middle of the book was so boring. I listened to the audiobook because Meryl Streep narrates it, and I love Meryl Streep. Who doesn't love Meryl Streep? While I was listening to the book, it gave me the same vibes as watching Little Women. Also, this book, I didn't know until we were well in that this book was set during the pandemic. So let's talk about my review. I felt like this book was a real depiction on what having daughters is like. Like, this next line, exactly how I feel. Fuck Peter Duke. Just a despicable ass man, honestly. Like, I have never seen another man like it. I gave this book 3 stars because it did take me a little bit to get through, and I felt like it fell off a little bit in the middle. Next book, we're in June. I read Good Girl Bad Blood by Lee Jackson. This is the second book in the Good Girls Got to Murder series, and you know, the plot twist in this book actually ate, I think. I didn't write a review, so you know what that means. But I gave it 4 stars. In this book, Pip really tries to like stop with like the investigating. She doesn't want to do that anymore. Like, it low-key ruined her life in the first one, like, dog. But somebody comes to her and is like, can you please help me find my brother, please? Okay, guys, I got the itch again for a dark mafia romance. So I read The Predator. I read like the first 3 books in the series. But anyway, I read The Predator, and I finished this book in less than 1 day. Like, mob/mafia romance books are my crack. The first 2 books that I read are The Predator and then The Reaper. First one I gave 4, this one I gave a 3. I feel like I loved him at the time, but now that I think about it, I don't know if I do. And then I gave The Emperor a 4 stars. The next book, I can't wait to rant and rave about. Not rave, rant. Reckless by Laura Roberts. I listened to this on audiobook. I gave this a book a 3.5 stars. I honestly, like, it's not bad. It's not a bad book. I was entertained listening to the audiobook. Wasn't this book like low-key advertised as enemies to lovers, or am I crazy? Because like the first one never gave enemies to lovers. It gave like they were friends bickering back and forth. This one didn't give enemies to lovers. The book never gave that, and I wish authors would stop. If she did, I don't know if she did, but I wish authors would stop advertising their books as enemies to lovers if the guy or the girl has been in love with them since they first laid eyes on each other. You understand? In the first book, in Powerless, I cared about Kit. Like, I read his chapters. I was like, oh, Kit, a Kit chapter. This book, Kit's chapters were so boring. You couldn't pay me. I could not make myself care about Kit's chapters. I've never skipped a chapter in my life in a book. When it said Kit, I was like, ugh, boring. Snooze fest. Next chapter. Talking about being king. His father is just like, I did not care. Also, Peyton in this book, like, that girl, I don't understand where she gets all that fight in her, but she got a lot of it, and I don't understand how. Like, the back and forth, like, after her 3rd runaway attempt and her 5th fight, I would have been like, whatever, just take me. Like, at this point, I don't care that much. And look, high-key, Kai powerless too. You in a town full of ordinaries, whose power can you use? During this book, the book was low-key repetitive. Like, it was she trying to run away, them fighting, she had to run away, them fighting, run away, fight, run away, fight, run away, fight. Oh, they fight together, fight together, fight together. We're kissing, I'm saving your life, run away, fight, run away, fight. Now we're on to the next book, which is Beach Read by Emily Henry. My first ever Emily Henry book, and I gave this book a 4 stars. Sometimes when I read books that are so overhyped, I just read the book and I'm just like, this is what y'all hyped about for real? Like, I don't understand. I really never understand it. But I do feel like the grief in this book was so realistic. Like, and Miss Henry can write grief. She can write grief. This book was so cute though. Like, I love January and Gus. And I literally wrote my review when he was kissing away her tears. I'll take 14 of them right now. I'll take 14 Gus's right now. When I watch you sleep, I feel overwhelmed that you exist. Then I read this book called I Hope This Doesn't Find You. This is like an academic rivals to lovers. So basically this girl, she's a goody two-shoes. She's basically a yes man. But in like her real life, she hates everyone around her. Like, she basically feels like everyone takes she basically feels like everyone takes advantage of her, but she lets everyone. So to let a little bit of her steam out, she writes these mean ass emails that she wishes she could send to people, but she writes them in the email, like every single one. Maybe you should get a diary, maybe. And then someone, won't tell who, goes in her computer and sends these mean ass emails to everyone in the school. She's written about her classmates, her teachers. The teachers start shitting on her. Like, girl, you invest in a diary with maybe a lock? Like, girl, you think of the little diaries that you gotta like talking to say something. We were kids. But this book was cute. It did take me a little bit to get into like the first half or the first 30% of the book. I had to get a little used to, I don't know. Julius, like, he's so like adorable. Like, his little like quotes that he says to Sadie are like so cute. I'm gonna read you a quote. For 10 years, I thought I was preparing to destroy you, when really I was preparing to love you. I gave this book a 4 stars. Next book is Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer. Side note, I did not know that this was a part of like the Part of Your World series. I literally read this as a standalone. Anyway, I read this book. I gave it a 4.5 stars, but look at the review. Right. I had a lot of thoughts while reading this book. So, let's get started. I need a fade with her mother immediately. Like, what a terrible mother. I've never in my life seen such a terrible... Well, being dramatic, probably have. But, ooh, girl. The things this man was going through... Good God! I don't know if I like the trope where like throughout the book they're talking about how one of them has to leave, and that's like the whole plot when you know inevitably that they're gonna be staying. Like, I don't understand. I'm sorry that everything happened to her, but leaving without saying goodbye, leaving when they're sitting outside of the house waiting for you, calling a cab and leaving without saying a single word. You're at the airport and we gotta go find you because you're about to head on the next flight to Oklahoma. I feel like dating her or being her best friend would literally be so exhausting. Is that like unwoke of me? I don't know. A physical copy of it, guys. Physical copy alert. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This was an overwhelming 5-star book. I love this book. Once again, do not clock my teeth for romantasy because this is like the second romantasy book I've ever read in my life, okay? I'm like just getting started. Can I have like a little bit of grace? I'm getting there. So right now, this is my favorite one. But anyway, I love the dragons in this book. This book made me want a dragon so bad. Like, I need that. I gotta have that. I want that. I need that. I have that. I gotta have that. Like, I love Taran, like the dragon. I think it's his name. He's like one of my favorite characters. Zayden. The man that you are. And fuck her mean ass mom too. Like, why these books ain't never got a good mom? The end of this book had me like this. Had me like this. Like, what? Liam, no! This book, I feel like I've been talking for 35,000 minutes. The next book, which is a physical one, oh my god, Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I gave it a 3 stars. Very underwhelming book. Like, the beginning was okay, but like I had to get like 60% in the book for me to even be remotely interested in it. I did read it fast because the font is big. Directly read this right after Fourth Wing, so I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. The Naturals is basically like Criminal Minds for teenagers, where like the FBI, I think it's the FBI, one of them, FBI, CIA, something, have come up with like this group of exceptionally talented teenagers who, the main character of this one can like read people really well. And then the next book I read was Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Manasilko. I gave this book a 3 stars. I don't know why I gave it a 3 stars. I loved Wrath in this book. Basically, this has to do with like the 7 deadly sins type thing. Like, the girl's sister was messing with one of the sins and her sister died, so she's like teamed up with one of them to like figure out who killed her sister. So she teamed up with Wrath. And like, I love any concept, any rendition of the 7 deadly sins. Like, MFC kind of got on my nerves. Like, she was low-key annoying as frickety frack. Like, some of the stuff she did, like, I get, okay, Wrath's a 7 deadly sin, he's a demon, blah blah blah. Like, her, like, you don't want to trust him. But like, at this point, girl, Wrath has been with you. Like, honestly, he had to be because he was like blood bonded to her or something. But like, at some point, I was literally skimming through some of the pages because I was like, nothing's happening, what's going on. Like, I was really only entertained when the Wrath was in the scene. Like, I didn't care about anything else. Like, it was not entertaining enough for me. And I only read this book because I saw somewhere that I had to read this first series before I could read The Throne of the Fallen. Like, but I really only love the scenes with Wrath. And I'm not even saying because, like, I'm only here for the romance. It's just, like, him and his brothers were the only interesting thing in this book for real. And the ending had me a little confused. Like, but I guess you had to get down there to find out what happened to your sister, but But yeah, this book was like down there for me during the year. Like, I don't think I really liked it. Like, it's like The Naturals and that is like really down there. But the next book I read was the Mindfuck series, and I loved this book. It contains 5 books, but I love this book. I love the plot of this book. Basically, this girl who is a serial killer is killing all these people who wronged her in her past, and she accidentally stumbles upon this FBI agent who she then starts dating, who knows nothing of what she's doing. They just start dating, and he is the FBI agent who was literally working on her case because she's a well-known serial killer, but nobody knows who she is. So she's dating him. But I love this book, and like, throughout the book, at the beginning of the book, I'm like, why is she killing people? But as you read the book, you figure out why she's doing what she's doing, and you start rooting for her, because the things in this book was so graphic and sad and disgusting. You should read the trigger warnings for this book, because this book was really dark and talked about really heavy topics. When I was reading this book, I was like, they cut off what? Like, I was like, oh, like, ew, like, that's nasty. Like, but this book was so good. I gave this book a 5 stars, even though it consists of 5 books, but I read it as one. First of all, I loved the main character girl. Like, she was a baddie. Baddies, post on me. Touch him again and I'll burn the town to the ground with everyone in it. Don't you love a woman protector? The next book I read, I loved, was 6 of Crows. Anyway, I've tried to read this book so many times before, but it never clicked for me. I had to get past chapter 3 for it to really click, and it did click. It clicked. My review, I finally read this fucking book, and I gave it 4 stars. I loved it. I love a found family. Like, the book has a slow start. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. The book has a slow start. You have to get past chapter 3. Okay? Get past chapter 3 and it's a smooth sailing. Like, I love Kaz and Inej. Like, you literally get crumbs of Kaz and Inej, and the little bit of tension that they give you, the smidget of tension. Jasper and Waylon, I did not predict that ending. Like, who could have predicted that? Like, what? No, my girl. Like, where is she going? Like, why are you taking her? Next. Who's next? Next. Out on a Limb by Hannah Bottom Young. I read this book in 12 hours. I gave this book a 4.75. Really random. I don't think I've ever given a book a 4.75. This book does have the pregnancy trope, but I loved it. But this book has my heart. The most considerate, kind man ever. They don't even know what miscommunication is. Basically, these two people, Bo and Winifred, call her Win, have a one-night stand at this like Halloween party, and she ended up preggo. More importantly, I believe it with everything inside of me. I believe you're going to be gentle with my heart. The next book I read was my last 5-star of the year. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I love this book. Also, I listened to like the dramatized audiobook of this on Spotify. So if you want to read this book, but you don't want to be like, this is sci-fi, this is too much information, listen to the audiobook. This next book was the last physical copy book I read, and that was The Girl on the Train. Like, I was trying to get like mystery thriller. This was like October I read this. I enjoyed the book. It did take me a long time to get through. I don't know why when it's literally this thin. Everyone in this book was mentally ill. But basically, Rachel catches the same commute on this train every day. She knows that it will wait at the same signal each time, overlooking a row of back gardens. She even started to feel like she knows the people who live in one of these houses. Jess and Jason, as she calls them. They're not their real names. And then she sees something shocking. Now everything's changed. Now Rachel has a chance to become a part of the life she's only watched from afar. Now they'll see she's much more than the girl on the train. There's 3 different women's POV in this book, and they're all insane. So if you want to read about 3 clinically insane women and a murder and a crazy ass man, read this book. There's also a movie to go with it, so if you don't want to read the book, watch the movie. The next book I read was The Secret Society of Regular Witches, and I love this book. I listened to this on audiobook, and I loved it. It was so cute. This witch, she's one of the few witches in Britain. So basically, she's supposed to be hiding her magic. But you know how like on TikTok, there's people who like fake they're witches, or like there are witches or something. I don't want to say anything's fake. I'm becoming too woke. You know how like there's fake witches and stuff. So basically, this real witch was pretending to be a fake witch on Instagram, but this man who knows how to like tell who was a witch, like he needs help. Like, so he's like, okay, you help me. I have 3 young witches who I need to train because somebody's coming and we need them to be able to control their magic. So basically, she goes to this house and basically teaches these 3 young witches how to control their magic. This book was so cute and cozy, and I loved it. Next. This will be my next and last book. This is the 29th book I read, and that was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this book a 4 stars. My first thing on this review was, well, that was fun. I would have, if you would have put that book in front of me without Ali Hazelwood's name on it, I would have never thought that she wrote that book. But also, like, as I'm thinking about it, like, I'm thinking about that knot thing, and I'm like, what? What was that? Vampire, werewolf, arranged marriage to keep, like, the tribes, like, you know, cohesive, like, aligned, at peace. I guess Miss Hazel was like, oh, y'all sick of the sameness? Let me give y'all alpha. Thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for watching any of my videos this year. I'm really happy and glad. If you did, you watch any of my book videos, I'll be reading new book. Obviously, I'll be reading new books this year. But yeah, thank you. You guys should subscribe to see more videos from me. Like, comment, you know, all that little fun YouTube things. That's just so fun to do. They're so fun to do. Aren't they so fun to do? Anyway, thank you guys. Bye.